Song Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho both own the same type of dog. That fact has been publicly known for years, quietly existing in interviews, photos, and past mentions that fans have never forgotten. What no one expected was for that shared detail to suddenly return to the spotlight, not through a statement, not through a headline, but through a small, ordinary moment that felt entirely unplanned. It began when Song Hye Kyo's dog was seen wearing a new accessory. At first glance, it didn't seem like anything special. No luxury branding on display. No dramatic reveal. Just a dog, calmly walking, wearing something functional and understated. But dog owners noticed immediately. Not because it was trendy. Not because it was expensive. But because it was specific. People who own that same breed recognized the design instantly. The way the harness Saturday. The structure. The balance. It wasn't decorative. It was practical, the kind of accessory you choose after learning what your dog actually needs, not what looks good in photos. And that's when the conversation quietly shifted. Because Lee Min-ho owns the same breed. Fans didn't need to dig for proof. This wasn't a rumor resurfacing out of nowhere. Lee Min-ho has spoken openly in the past about his dog, about companionship, responsibility, and how caring for a pet changed his daily rhythm. Over the years, fans have seen glimpses of that relationship, enough to understand that his approach has always leaned toward comfort and routine rather than show. So when Song Hye Kyo's dog appeared with an accessory that mirrored that same philosophy, people paused. Not to speculate, but to recognize. Dog owners began explaining something that casual viewers might miss. Certain breeds require specific support. Their build, temperament, and movement mean that not all accessories work well for them. Some harnesses cause discomfort. Others restrict movement. The one Song Hye Kyo's dog was wearing was designed to prevent exactly those issues. One owner commented, "You don't buy that unless you've already learned what doesn't work." That single observation changed the tone of the discussion. This wasn't about matching styles. It wasn't about signaling. It was about familiarity. The kind of familiarity that comes from living with a dog long enough to understand its needs without needing guidance. The kind of familiarity that shapes quiet decisions, not public gestures. What stood out even more was how unintentional the moment felt. There was no effort to highlight the dog. No caption explaining the accessory. No framing that suggested it was meant to be noticed. It appeared naturally, in the background, doing exactly what it was designed to do. And that authenticity made it resonate. Fans began revisiting older moments involving Lee Min-ho and his dog, not to compare visuals, but to compare approach. The way comfort always came first. The way his dog was described as a companion rather than an accessory. The way routines were mentioned more often than appearances. Suddenly, the connection wasn't about two celebrities. It was about two people who understood the same responsibility. Dog owners chimed in again, pointing out that once you own that breed, your choices change. You stop buying things based on aesthetics. You choose based on experience. On trial and error. On what actually makes daily life easier for the animal you care about. And that realization grounded the entire conversation. This wasn't symbolic. It wasn't romantic. It was practical. And practical choices often say more than words. What made this detail linger was how it fit seamlessly into the broader pattern fans had been noticing lately. The recent moments surrounding Song Hye Kyo hadn't been flashy or attention-seeking. They had been calm. Intentional. Quietly personal. This pet detail matched that tone perfectly. It suggested a life rooted in routine rather than performance. In understanding rather than display. And when fans connected that to what they already knew about Lee Min-ho's relationship with his dog, it didn't feel like coincidence. It felt like shared understanding. No one rushed to conclusions. No one demanded explanations. Instead, fans observed. Because observation is what this story has always been built on. What makes this moment compelling isn't that Song Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho own the same type of dog. Plenty of people share breeds. That alone isn't remarkable. What made fans stop and pay attention was how the shared experience showed up, quietly, naturally, without effort. Pets tend to reveal the truth about daily life. They don't perform. They don't curate. They exist within routine. And the choices surrounding them often reflect how grounded a person truly is. That's why this detail resonated so strongly. Dog owners continued to weigh in, explaining that accessories like the one seen aren't impulse purchases. They are usually the result of research, recommendation, or experience. Often from learning what works only after trying what doesn't. Which led fans to a simple conclusion: this choice came from knowledge. Knowledge that felt familiar. And that familiarity mattered more than any visible connection ever could. What's also notable is how restrained the reaction has been. Instead of spiraling into speculation, fans treated this moment as confirmation of something quieter, that both Song Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho approach life with intention, care, and consideration. That they value comfort over attention. Consistency over display. Understanding over explanation. Those traits don't trend loudly. But they last. And this pet detail became another layer in a series that has been unfolding not through announcements, but through alignment. Each moment on its own is ordinary. Together, they form a pattern that feels deeply human. No grand statements. No dramatic gestures. Just life happening quietly. That's why this story continues to hold attention. Because it doesn't ask viewers to believe anything extraordinary. It asks them to notice what's already there. A shared dog breed. A shared understanding of care. A shared preference for choices that prioritize well-being. And in a celebrity world often driven by spectacle, that kind of alignment feels refreshing. It reminds fans that not everything meaningful needs to be spoken. Some things are understood, especially by those who recognize them from their own lives. This wasn't a message sent outward. It was a detail noticed inward. And that's why it stayed with people. Because sometimes, the clearest stories aren't told through words or appearances, but through the quiet decisions made when no one is watching.